Hello, everybody. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and this is my colleague, Tracy Priest.
Hello, everyone.
And we're with The Road to Retail. On our podcast, Tracy and I hope to offer insights and ideas for how emerging small and challenger CPG, consumer packaged goods, brands can establish and grow their business.
Bruce and I have been working in CPG commercial operations for over 30 years, working on brands of all sizes. By commercial operations, we mean all aspects involved in establishing and growing brands across channels and platforms. On our show, we bring on guests that are brand founders, leaders, investors, as well as all kinds of suppliers to these emerging brands that are subject matter experts to share their unique insights with the audience.
To keep up with the show, please follow the Road to Retail podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Leave us a review and consider sharing the show with a friend or colleague that may benefit from the content. You can also check out our website at www.road2retail.com and follow The Road to Retail on LinkedIn. Let's get to today's episode. Let me tell you a little bit about Agency Habitat. Agency Habitat is your one-stop shop for emerging brands. From packaging design to Shopify website development, from organic social content to connected TV spots, from brand activations to influencer programs, they offer everything your brand needs to succeed, all under one roof. Contact them at www.agencyhabitat.com. Looking to scale or launch your supplement or skincare brand? Eagle Labs Incorporated, based in Florida, offers full-service NSF-certified contract manufacturing of capsules, tablets, powders, liquids, gummies, and lotions. All of their manufacturing takes place in the USA. From R&D and formulation to packaging and fulfillment, Eagle Labs provides scalable, high-quality production that meets FDA and NSF standards. To learn more, contact Michael Law, Chief Commercial Officer at Eagle Labs at michael.law@eaglelabsinc.com, EAGLELABSINC, Michael Law, eaglelabs.com, or text him at 203-242-6417.
So Bruce, tell us about our newest sponsor.
Glad to, Tracy. Tired of getting crushed by chargebacks each time your brand sells product? From dealing with hundreds of forms that all look different to fighting tooth and nail to get repays, managing deductions is tough work. And you're almost certainly leaving money on the table. Fortunately, there's a solution. Floret was built to help brands like yours. With Floret's software platform, you can automate your deductions workflow, get insight into your trade spend, and even have your deductions disputed for you. Whether you're a scrappy young brand trying to break into retail or an established supplier looking to get sharper on trade, Floret will put money back in your pocket. We've saved brands hundreds of thousands of dollars this year alone. Visit www.tryfloret.com to book a demo and learn more. That's www.tryfloret.com.
Again, we encourage you to subscribe to our iTunes or Spotify channel at Road, 2 Retail.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us on the latest episode of The Road to Retail. Tracy, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, and Bruce, it is great to be live in the studio today in Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Dallas, Fort Worth. We're in Texas. It's a big state. It's got a lot of towns. We're here, and before we get into our guest, we want to thank our colleagues at Agency Habitat and Lowtown Studios for inviting us down here to do these shows in studio. It's been a great experience, and we hope you enjoy it. So Tracy, why don't you tell the folks who's with us right now?
Absolutely. So I would love to welcome Abby Richards to the show today, Fractional CFO and founder of the CPG CFO. Welcome, Abby. Thanks for joining us today. You came a long way, and we so appreciate you coming. So let's jump right in. So Abby, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Of course. So I am a mom of three. My kids are 9, 7, and 4. I'm happily married, been with my husband for 17 years. Spent almost 25 years between business, accounting, business technology, finance, and now have my own firm focused on CPG founders and finance. We have grown to a team of 4 now. So we started in 2023. And since starting my firm, I've helped dozens of health, beauty, food, and beverage founders with finance strategy. And I am a mentor with SKU and also on the board with DFW CPG. So that's my street cred.
Got your hands full. So, it's always a bit challenging. What's harder to manage, the employees or the children?
Definitely the children.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Their brains are not fully developed yet.
And then if any of them are boys, they never fully develop, according to my mother. So we'll see where that goes. Hey, so Abby, with our audience of founders and leaders of these small emerging brands, tell us a bit about what your firm does to actually help CPG brands, because a lot of times finance function's super important, but the people can be expensive to bring on full time.
Yes. So probably the biggest way that we help brands, so one of our core values is community. So we do a lot of free content, things like this, and we have resources on our website, like our Cash Fight framework. We also have videos on YouTube, like you guys do. Mm-hmm. And so that's one way that we help. But the services that we sell, I act as a part-time CFO for brands. So we're doing strategy calls, profitability analysis on those calls, unit economics, and then projects to create a financial model that they can then use to operate, fundraise, et cetera. And also we have retainer clients. So as an example, we have a founder in the health and beauty space, and he came to us because they were doing great. So they had been doubling year over year, tons of growth, but anytime they ran out of cash, it was a surprise. Mm-hmm. So he came to us because he always felt lost in the past in terms of the cash needs of the business. And he got really frustrated that he was always like behind the 8 ball, going out to fundraise. And he was like, do not let me run out of money again. And not let me know. He's like, I want to know how much to raise, and I want to know when I need to do it. Right. So we started working together earlier this year, and they ended up getting yeses from Target, Whole Foods, Publix, and a host of other retailers, almost all at the same time.
Wow.
So it was definitely a challenge bringing in from the chief revenue officer, from operations, to make sure everybody's aligned on what's going to happen and how much money are we going to need. And he ended up going out and getting over 50% of his raise committed in a single weekend. So
very impressive.
That was that felt good that he knew how much he needed. He knew, okay, it's time, and then he was able to be super successful with it.
Those are some big accounts. So
yes.
When you were saying that his task to you was don't let me run out of money, I was like, oh boy. Abby had her hands full on day one with that one.
Yeah, we, we're still working through it, but yeah, he feels good about it, which is what's important to us.
Well, that's well done.
Awesome. Well, great. So talk to our audience a little bit about the importance of a cash runway.
Yes.
And even explain what you mean by that.
Yes.
Yeah. So cash runway, I mean, you can't have zero cash, right? Like, because you need that money. You need some flexibility and some wiggle room. Example of that, we had a founder who is a premium snack brand. They do a lot of their business in Q4. So a lot of, with the holidays and whatnot, nuts is a very important input for their product. And there was a bit of a nut crisis over the summer this year. And so he's like on the phone with the president of the Nut Association buying these unanticipated huge orders to try and preserve margin. And so the fact that he had some cash, he was able to make that choice and take that step. I think about things like, full fuel prices going out of control, or, unexpected tariffs, or, you get a $20,000 deduction from your distributor that was unexpected and sometimes not even for you. And so it's just the wiggle room, right? It's the flexibility that founders need in this business because it is, so demanding of cash.
That would be a great business card. I'm president of the Nut Association.
You'd be perfect for that job.
So I've been told. So Abby, can you please walk us through the differences between accounting and strategic finance? Sometimes people think anything to do with a spreadsheet's all the same thing, and they're really quite different. So how would you explain those?
Yeah, you're just a numbers person, right? Numbers people can do all the numbers things. Yes, for that one, I will give you 2 examples. So I once had a founder reach out and told me that she had talked to another accountant, because I am a CPA, right? But I'm not doing technical accounting anymore, day to day, even though we do advise around it sometimes. That she had an accountant tell her that her startup's valuation was negative because the equity in her balance sheet was negative as a startup. So obviously that person could be amazing at writing GAAP research memos and, constructing really complex journal entries and whatnot for a publicly traded company, but they don't understand startups and valuation and strategic finance. So that's one example. Another example, and this is something I see all the time for early stage brands, they have a tax accountant that will write off, do like bonus depreciation and write off the entire value of an asset that they purchase in year 1 because it lowers their taxable income. And that's what you pay a tax accountant to do, right? Is to lower your taxable income and save you on taxes. But they're not thinking about how that is going to look to an investor or to a lender, right? When you have a really lean balance sheet, when in reality you do have these assets, then you're getting a return on that investment. And maybe you're manufacturing yourself, and that's a machine that's in your on your production floor and is this amazing asset for you. But if you look at your balance sheet, you wouldn't even know that it exists. And so that's one thing that we help founders with too, and is another example of accounting not being the same as being strategic.
Very important distinction.
Yeah, because it is 2 totally different things. If you have a loan from a bank, you want to keep everything clean and simple. But if you're trying to raise money from investors, they want to see the potential. So if you strip it down too far, looks like you're selling air. Yeah,
and even a lender also needs to see that you have a strong balance sheet in order to want to lend to you, right? Like collateral, right? The equipment could be collateral for your loan. And they also can see that you have the equipment that is going to enable you to produce and have the revenue in the future that could then give you the debt service coverage to make those loan payments, right? So it's just, you just have to understand that not all numbers people have the same goals, right? So
So one other follow-up there, Abby. So some of the things that I would bet you and your team do is help a founder with a brand decide, is it worth making this ourselves and figuring it out versus going outside to a co-manufacturer, which has its pros and cons, right? You lose a little bit of control. You're kind of a client in the machine rather than buying your own machines. Are those kind of scenarios you help the people work through?
Absolutely. So I can give one example.
Please.
I have a brand that I've been consulting with, and they are growing and they're constrained. They were constrained by their production capacity, and they couldn't grow anymore, realistically. They couldn't make any more themselves. And so they we did a lot of, I mean, I'm involved in a team, right? So it's not me, I don't do co-man searches, but we're in, as a team, they were looking at different co-manufacturers and determining whether it made sense to, go to one and have them produce it. But, and we were also looking at buying a piece of equipment, right? So we were like, okay, do we go to the co-man where realistically we need to commit to some pretty hefty order volumes, right? From very early on, and where does this cash come from? And, trying to answer that question. And then we also have the option of buying this very expensive piece of equipment that could speed up production. But because they're still really small, and it was like, but can we preserve flexibility? And he actually came up with this other option of just using a little bit more manpower to be able to increase production so that he's not committing to that big outlay of cash or, potentially a loan to pay for the equipment. So we're looking at all these different scenarios. How far can we get with just, more hands and being able to grow and have that flexibility so that you're not making this huge commitment. I mean, he didn't have POs in hand, right? So we're not trying to, I'm like, if you're feeling like it's time to make the leap and I just need to buy this piece of equipment, we've got these POs, like we've had all these conversations happening with retailers and it's all about to just kind of come to a head, like at that point, maybe yes, go ahead and buy the equipment or commit to the co-man. But at their stage and, the more that we talked to them, it was like, okay, no, let's stay flexible. Let's stay really lean. I think that's the smartest decision.
Yeah, so folks, what Abby's saying is if you're a founder entrepreneur with low headcount and you have these opportunities, rather than be overwhelmed and kind of flip a coin and hope you make the right choice,
right,
a firm like hers can help you think through that with the facts. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And what an advantage to a founder to have somebody like you on their team to help them think through that.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I feel like is tough for founders is knowing when to zoom in and get in the details and when to zoom out. So as an example, when we're modeling D2C, we're thinking about average order value, right? From there, we go to product mix, but realistically, it's the average order value that's like driving the revenue. And then when we're thinking about production runs, I want to know the hours. I'm like, I want you to time it. How many people, how many hours, weigh your ingredients, right? How much waste, what's the yield? How much do you have at the end? What are the inputs, outputs? Getting really, really disciplined and detailed. But then when you're thinking about something like freight, it's like, well, let's think about how much was freight for a period of time, divide that by the number of units. You have an average. So yes, I feel like founders a lot of times get really hung up on like all the details. They'll be like, well, this production, I'm like, no, we're going to time maybe like a few samples and then we're going to average it, right? So that way we can just use those numbers and know that that is what it is, right? We can use those in a lot of different applications instead of feeling like they have to like reinvent the wheel every time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So many founders ignore financial data, Abby, as you know. So talk to our audience a little bit about why that's a really bad idea, and then how you help founders, understand their financials, because they're not normally financial people. They have this idea, and it's their baby,
And they just want to go.
I just want to sell stuff.
Yes, I understand the feeling, right? It's not one that's familiar to me because I'm a numbers person, right? I've always been a numbers person since I was a kid. When I had to change my phone number one time, I cried. So I'm just kind of a numbers weirdo, but I deeply understand, small business and the risks that founders are taking. My dad was self-employed my whole growing up life, as we say here in the South. And he sold equipment, and he was successful for a number of years. But when I was 19, the industry was changing, and he didn't pay attention to enough attention to his numbers, right? He had a business degree, but he's like, maybe I'll just sell it on terms, right? Like, and he didn't have the cash for that, right? He wasn't a bank. And so his business, when I was 19, his business failed. He went, it's obviously a deeply personal story for me, but I feel like it's important to talk about because he went effectively bankrupt. My mom and dad split up, as a result of kind of all the drama that they went through. And my mom moved away with my younger brothers and sisters. And I was there with my dad. I actually worked with him at the time. So, but I didn't have at that point in time the knowledge and the experience to be able to talk him through these things. And I always wonder, I'm like, what would that have been like if I had known, like if me now could have gone and talked to him about it? Like that is the type of work that we do, right? We're talking founders through what do they realistically need for their family, right? How much do you need to pay yourself? And how can we construct this in a way that is not going to have you being reactive and hopefully not emotional and not, chasing bad sales, right? Because you can get yourself into a lot of trouble with saying yes to sales that are actually not a good idea for your business.
Right.
We've seen that before. People lose track of their pricing integrity and they cut all these one-off deals, and then a person like you looking at the numbers goes, Bruce, what are you doing?
Exactly.
And why do you have trade spend when you didn't have hardly any sales that month? Oh, it was from 3 months ago and it wasn't accrued for because the revenue recognition is not in place. Like that's really rough to see too.
Well, and then the people that are new to CPG, even though there's all this whiz-bang technology, the trade spending invoices are hardly, next day after the event runs. They trickle in. Mm-hmm. So you kind of touched on this a little bit early on, Abby, with the importance of cash and needing to understand it. Can you tell the folks what a conversion cycle is and why it's important?
Yes, absolutely. So the conversion cycle is the number of days in AR on average, the number of days.
Accounts receivable.
Yes, thank you. Accounts receivable, number of days there, number of days sales there, right? The number of days in inventory. So in the conversion cycle, AR is kind of bad, and also inventory is like kind of bad, right? So you want to keep those levels down to the extent that you can, right? With obviously your sales, right? You don't want to constrain sales to keep AR down, but if you can have shorter terms, that's better, right? With your customers. So it's AR, inventory, and then you get to subtract the number of days in AP. So if you get longer terms with your vendors, that's better, right? So you want shorter terms with your customers, as little inventory as you can, operate with, right? Not just holding inventory for no reason. And then you can subtract the number of days in AP. So the reason it's important is that growth costs money, right? So you need the cash to power your P&L. We've already talked about cash before, but you're paying for that inventory up front, sometimes before the production run even starts, right? Putting down that deposit. And then once you get the inventory, it may sit in the warehouse for a little while, and then you sell it, but you don't collect on it for 30 to 90 days.
Right.
So all that time your cash is tied up. You might sell something, a pallet for $500, and your gross profit may be $300, but it's not like in January when you sell it, that $300 just appears in your bank account. Like you had to pay for it before, and then you don't get paid for a while. So even though it's in your, income statement, your profit and loss, it's important to understand how that works and have the cash to power your business.
Well, and you've made a couple of really interesting points, because you can't make any money if you don't have anything to ship. So inventory can be painful because on the one hand, it's idle cash, but we've had examples of brands that just make a ton because they're like, I need stuff. Okay, so they have all this cash sitting there, and if it's a perishable item or has dating, you're burning dating while you're waiting to sell. And then we've also had people, and this is where your firm comes in again, they sell something and they've been so excited. One of our many bumper stickers is all gas, no brakes with the founder. So it's like, I'm going to ship stuff. And they're like, what do you mean I'm not getting paid for 90 days? Or what are all these deductions?
Yeah.
What are these fees? I was expecting $300 and I have $81. What the hell?
I have a founder who went into a ton of Whole Foods stores, and because of the slotting and she didn't really have the velocity, she didn't get paid for like 6 months, or longer.
That's
she
brutal.
didn't get any checks, right? Just because all she was doing, they were just continuously selling through the free fill. Yeah. So, yes.
We've heard that many a times as well. So tell us a little bit about your cash fight framework. Sounds really interesting. So I'm excited to hear about this.
Yes. So that's my thing. That's my little shtick, my cash fight framework. So it's 9 levers that we've identified that can help brands manage their cash. So you've got C for conversion cycle. We've talked about that. A is for alert levels. So that is having a cash flow forecast, having a level that you're kind of looking ahead and making sure it doesn't fall below that. S is for shelf pricing. H is for shipping and fulfillment. There's an H in there. Don't worry.
Okay.
And F is for financing. I is for inventory levels. We just talked about that. G is for goods sold. So your pricing, the price that you're paying. The H is for overhead, and T is for trade spend and marketing. So a good example of a cash fight framework approach that we've taken in the past is we had a client that sells beverage mixers. So they were shipping these big, heavy bottles, and we walked through their numbers, and we talked to them about strategy and realized that they have a problem not only with the shipping and fulfillment of that, it was heavy and expensive, but also consumer behavior, because people are generally not coming into the store and buying a new 32-ounce bottle of mix every week, right? So it's tough from a velocity standpoint. And so, even though people loved it, it was eating into, margins and cash, and they were having a tougher time with their velocity than they wanted to have. So they started testing some smaller formats. It lowered their fulfillment costs, improved their the rate that people were consuming it, right? And it's like a fun little package too. So that one had a mixture of the shelf price, because they got a better price for a smaller, format. So the price per ounce was higher.
Right.
And the G for goods sold, the H for shipping and fulfillment, and it freed up margin for T for trade spend. So it hit a bunch of those levers, and that's really what it's all about. It's about spotting those areas that we can see where cash might be leaking, kind of tighten those spots one by one.
You got to know where the money's going. One of the other interesting things, and you kind of alluded to that in that answer, is sometimes founders they just default that I'm going to do all this online, which can be good. But one of the things that we've learned with all the brands we've spoken to, these brands have to be really alert to their kind of price to weight ratio. So I think your example was it was heavy and expensive. What's even worse is you're heavy and cheap, which is why some of these lower end pet food companies that were going to ship 50 pounds of gravy train to your house for like $12. Oops.
Yeah, you can't. I want to say it's between like $30 and $40 if you don't have a average order value above that. I mean, D2C can be tough for food and beverage, just because a lot of it's heavy and it's hard to get to the higher average order values. I think D2C definitely has its place, but I do see sometimes, especially food and beverage, D2C is more just for super fans that maybe moved out of the region, as opposed to a true, strategic channel for them. And that does happen sometimes. I mean, sometimes people can certainly make it work, but it can be tough.
No, thank you. Tiny bit off the board here, but you've intrigued me with some of your answers. When an emerging brand is getting started, at what point should they actually speak to someone like you if they're not a numbers person innately or in their history
question.
of their job? Is it like sooner than later, or wait till you're doing at least $3 million because you're kind of still stumbling around in the dark at that level? Or
Yeah, it's tough to say because we do do strategy calls. So you don't have to sign up for like a monthly, thousands of dollars retainer or anything like that just to talk to us. We are waitlisting right now, and be announcing soon potential for group coaching next year. So we're testing that idea to see if that would be of interest. So when founders are earlier stage that they can't afford the one-on-one, that there's the potential for that. So we do always have that in mind. It's like, how do we make this work earlier, make sure and get to them before they, make a big mistake that, is going to really cost them. So we do have the option for strategy calls also early on. So if someone is in the farmer's market and they're pricing on, I like to say maybe around like 4-to-1 ratio on their price to cost, right? Because realistically, to get into retail, you're going to need that. So, and because you have the benefit of being in person, you can talk to people, they can see.
You've seen it all the time. You're exactly right.
Yeah. So if you can really price it right, and kind of go through some iterations, some test and learn, kind of find some product market fit, whether that is in a farmer's market or if it's D2C, maybe in a region or, really small retail where you can kind of test and figure out, where is that price point where people will continue to buy. It's not just like a, one-time kind of special thing, but they'll continue to buy it and you can get the velocity. If you can kind of do that on your own, I think you're good, right? But if you want to have someone who can sit down with you and talk you through your unit economics, if you're considering expanding, right, to a group of stores or, into a region, into a larger retailer, we can go through in an hour, shelf price, COGS, right? Are you going to have slotting? What's your plan for trade spend? And just kind of run through like a miniature model pretty early on, right? So I never want to sell that to somebody if they don't, need it. Right. I kind of gave some advice a second ago that maybe can kind of help you along before then. But does that help with maybe when a brand would need my help? It's when they have enough money on the line that it's worth it to pay a CFO, right? So you don't want to, if you're going to potentially make a $500 mistake, like don't pay me $1,000, right? That doesn't make any sense. But if you're going to potentially make a, $100,000, $500,000 mistake, and you could talk to a CFO and just kind of make sure that you're feeling solid on your plan, like definitely come to us. Yeah,
definitely. We've had lots of people come and tell us, and we've boiled it down to this kind of bumper sticker. People try things they're not equipped to, so it turns out they'd rather fail for free than pay someone who knows what's going on. So, and then they learn that lesson. And when we ask, some brands will be like, what's one thing you wish you could do over? A lot of it comes down to people overestimating their abilities or underestimating the complexity or financial risk of something they're doing.
Right.
All right, Abby. Who has had the greatest impact or influence on your career? And what did this person do? You don't have to name names unless you want to. That's really stuck with you over the years.
I'm going to cheat because I have two. I'm going to say it's a toss-up between Kevin McMonigal, I will name them, and Michael Romano, because they were partners at the RSM office in Blue Bell, Pennsylvania, when I was working there. And so the big thing with them is just they're supremely human. So they treat other people like humans. So
RSM is?
It's a large, it's a multinational public accounting firm, audit, tax, and consulting that I worked for I was there for almost 7 years. And but they treated people like people, not like a number, even though I worked remotely. So I was always in Texas. I wasn't in Pennsylvania. So it'd been really easy for them to avoid, connecting with me. And they are both so smart and, just talented professionals in their own right, but are the type of leaders that I aspire to be. So they helped me develop, they gave me tough feedback. They appreciated my work, but the biggest thing was that they spoke up for me in rooms, where I wasn't present. And the two stories that I can tell, quick anecdotes, was so Kevin let me kind of stay like on the bench, which in consulting just means that you're not billable or less billable for a little while, because there was this one client that I really, really wanted to work with. They are, I won't name them, but they are the most iconic Texas quick service restaurant. And but the go live date kept pushing. And so he's like, okay, yeah, I'll let you stay, on the bench a little bit longer so you can work on this client. Which meant so much to me because he could tell how much I really wanted to do it. And then Mike, when I came back from maternity leave, he was super fair about like paying me for extra work that I did. I was supposed to be part-time. I wasn't really working part-time. And so he was like, I'll make it right. I'll make you whole. I didn't even ask. And so he just did it. And so they did the right thing no matter who was watching, I felt like. And I sobbed my face off when I said goodbye to them. So they have a very special place in my heart.
What a great story. I love that. I love that. So as we're coming to an end of our time, our fun question of the day. So what is your favorite sports team, brand, or band, and why do you follow them?
I first have to ask, were the other questions not fun? I thought they were fun.
I thought they were fun too.
So I don't mind talking about numbers all day, but I'm going to go off my CPG script here. I know I could talk about a brand, but I'm going to say the San Antonio Spurs. So my dad is a big fan. I grew up in South Texas, so they always remind me of home and my childhood. And I was watching them, following them really closely, when they won the championships in was it 99, 03, 05, I think?
They won a lot of them.
Yeah, there were several.
Yes, they did.
They aren't flashy, and if you ask my husband, he'll tell you they're boring to watch. But he actually knows sports and played basketball in college, so he's like they're not that interesting. But I'm like, they just get the job done, right? They focus on what matters. I love Greg Popovich because he's doesn't care about what people think about him. He just is focused on doing his job, and these days, honestly, between working kids, I couldn't name one player on the team.
Ask Bruce, he's a big NBA fan.
We'll give you
But
one.
my dad-
Victor Wembanyama, probably the only name you need to know for about 10 years. He's 14 feet tall,
Yes.
and he can dunk from his bed before he gets out of bed in the morning.
I'm pretty sure my husband's talked about him to me, but yeah, my dad watches all the games between work and kids. I'm like, I don't really watch TV at all anymore.
Yeah,
We're,
you don't have time.
Starting your own company.
He's probably
but
worth watching at least once.
I know.
As we're filming this, it's the second week of the NBA season. I watched the first game. He put up 40.
Oh,
and
wow.
He's 7'5", going behind his back. He's a bad man.
Well, thank you for educating me about the team that I love so much, supposedly.
That's good. Well, Tracy and I are working on his citizenship to get him American before the next Olympics because he is of French nationality. So, Abby, thank you so much for your time today. How could people get in touch with you to learn more about your firm, your services, and see if you might be able to help them out?
Yeah, so if you want to reach out to book a call, you can go to our website, thecpgcfo.com. We're very easy to find. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I post almost every day. So make sure you're ready to follow me. You will hear from me.
I love it.
And we also post on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We're at the CPG CFO everywhere. So.
Excellent. All right, Tracy, the big finish.
Absolutely, Abby. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. This has been great. And audience, thank you for joining us today. Continue to follow us on our Spotify and Apple podcast, as well as LinkedIn. We post every Tuesday. And also check out our website, which is www.road2retail, and all of our episodes are posted there as well. So thanks again for joining us.
Thank you guys for
Good
having
luck
me.
out there, folks.